Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, I'm going to react. As I always say, everything that I say when I react is completely speculative based on very little information. Let's watch.
Why don't you come here again? Can you tell me?
Because we're waiting for the visa.
Aren't the borders closed because of coronavirus?
That also. But if they're open, your mommy doesn't want to come here. So you gotta speak to your mom more often. And ask her, Mommy, when are we going to South Africa?
No. This is overt triangulation of a child, which is not okay. So, okay, for him, he wants to be with his family. He misses his wife, he misses his children, and he wants to be with them. Okay. And he's talking with his stepson, and his stepson wants to see him. And Ronald, wants to convince his wife to come back to South Africa. And all of that is totally okay. But you do not triangulate, you do not involve a child in your conflicts. Many parents do this, particularly in divorces and in conflict. It makes sense you have the temptation. It makes sense that you're like, hey, I miss you and you miss me. And the reason why we can't see each other is because of your mom. Your mom refuses to come here because she's afraid of safety or something, you know, and it's her fault. I can't come out there because I don't have the money. So it's your mom's fault. And if you could convince your mom to come out here, then maybe we could all be together and we'll all be happy. It makes sense that you might have the temptation to do that. And if you think that you are above that temptation, you might actually not be when you actually are in a situation like that. It's a very strong temptation, subtly or more overtly like he's doing right now. But not okay. Why is it not okay? Well, it's because the child cannot manage that kind of pressure. You are now downloading into that child's head the notion that their parent, you know, the child loves both parents. The child wants to be with mom, wants to be with stepdad. And now it is with the father is now giving the child the impression that the power is in his hands, that the child now has the power to succeed or fail in being able to change the situation. And a lot of kids don't have the ability to handle that kind of thing. They will think, okay, I just now have that power. And then say he goes off to convince mom to move to South Africa. Well, that's creating a conflict between mother and son, which isn't good. But let's say in the end, she doesn't, you know, things don't work out between Ronald and I think her name's Tiffany. I'm forgetting. It's been a while since I've reacted to this couple between the parents. And let's say it doesn't work out. Well, again, the kid is desperately wanting the parents to be together, and the kid will often conclude, if things don't work out, that it's all his fault. That if he was a better kid, if he convinced his parents to act differently, then everything would be fine. And if he was only a better child, and so his, you know, the belief that my entire life is falling apart because I'm insufficient. Children will do this. I one time had a kid who was completely convinced that he was to blame for his parents breaking up because he didn't do a chore one day. I won't go into the details, but he was convinced that if he had done a chore on this one day a year ago, that his parents would still be together, which of course doesn't make any sense, but he believed it. And that's how children are. They just don't have the ability to comprehend what's happening. And even though this kid comes across as very mature for his age, he's very verbal, he has a lot of empathy, that has nothing to say about his ability to handle what Ronald just told him. So not okay. And then what's Tiffany, the mother, supposed to do? Is she now supposed to say, no, son, we're not going to, you know, then it puts Tiffany in a position where she has to justify her position to not move to South Africa, which again, puts more data into this child's head that they don't need to know. So what should Ronald say? Well, what Ronald should say is say, look, son, I really want to see you. And me and your mom are working really hard to try to make it a way so that we can all live in the same town, whether it's in South Africa or the United States or somewhere else. We're working really hard. And because I love you so much and your mom loves you so much and I love your mom, you know, we all love each other so much and we're working real hard and I'm with you. Even though in the back of your mind, you're like, well, I'm working real hard, but she's not working, you know, whatever sort of story you have in your mind, it's that, but you have to tell a child the most relevant information, which is that we're working hard. We're trying everything we can. We're talking about it. It's on our minds. It's, you know, we have a plan and we'll see what happens. So that's all you need to tell a child.
If it is declined, then obviously you guys have to move to South Africa.
For real?
Yeah.
No.
My boy, why don't you want to come to South Africa?
Because my family's not here, and I'm gonna miss my family. Because if I be there forever, it's like not gonna be the same, you know.
This is another reason why people should think before they start dating people from another country halfway across the world. I'm not going to shame it by any means. It's certainly possible to make things work out, but it's these kinds of, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If they stay in the United States, then Ronald can't be with any of his people and his culture and his lifestyle and his friends and his family. If they move to South Africa, then this child has to be ripped away from all of his extended family, his friends, his neighborhood, his culture, and the mother as well. And so it's one of these things that we see on the show sometimes that they don't seem to think about before they engage in dating people across the world. And I wish people would think about this more. It's also another thing to think about before you start looking for a job. You know, you're desperate, you're looking for a job, and then all of a sudden this job pops up halfway across the world or the country, and you just think, okay, let's go, let's do it. Now, I'm not saying you're not supposed to do that, but a lot of people, they don't seem to understand the effect it's going to have on you to move to another area and on children. Children are, it's hard for them. If you grew up in a family that moved around a lot, you can attest to how difficult it was for you to be the new kid in school several times, to not be able to really make any friends because eventually we're going to move again anyway. It's very hard. It can have long-lasting negative effects. It can have long-lasting positive effects as well. But it's just one of those things that I wish people thought about more.
But I mean, you can go visit them.
No, I don't really like that. I like staying.
It's a nice place. Once you get to know it, it's a lovely place.
I'm just used to.
So I don't like this conversation either. The kid is extremely emotionally mature for his age, and he's just like, no. I like living here. I want you to come here because then I get to have all my people. I get my culture, my family, my friends. Everyone's here. I feel safer over here. And Ronald, the stepfather, is really laying into this kid as if they're brothers or something, is saying like, no, you need to come here. Everything will be fine. I get it. Again, it makes sense. It's motivated out of love that he has for his family, for his stepson. But this attitude, right? He should have, or at the very least, he should be empathizing more of just like, yeah, I get it. I'm with you. If I were in your position, I'd feel the same way. Some empathy there. You don't want to just discount the child's needs, which are real.
This place more. What I think should happen is, if the visa declined and you can't come here, then we can only go visit for like 2 or 3 months, right?
No, you guys are going to move here.
This child is way too involved. He understands, I think, way too much information. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's a dysfunctional thing or a harmful thing to the kid, but it's a massive red flag. When you have a child of his age, how old is he? 11? I don't know, somewhere around there. If he knows intimate details about the visa process, about the conflict between his parents, about the preferences. This is a parentified child. And he acts like it. He was probably parentified before he ever met Ronald, actually, because from the very beginning of this show, he seemed a lot older than he was. Now, some kids are just really mature. Some kids just come across that way. But one of the things that it indicates as a red flag is parentification, where a child is forced to mature faster at the expense of their own needs and their own childhood. And I wonder about this kid. I mean, he knows more about this case. He knows details that I don't even understand. He knows legal, concepts that I don't even understand. And he's I don't know how 11 years old. It's too much now. He probably wants to know information, and he could benefit from, there's a lot of it, like, are my parents going to be together? What's going on? But he doesn't need to know all these intimate. The fact that he knows all these intimate details indicates to me that he's involved much more in the details and the anxiety of the situation than he needs to be.
According to me, that Tiffany and the kids moved to South Africa. Initially, I know that Tiffany does not want to move here. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to keep doing this long-distance relationship thing.
Yeah, so it might come to that, and that would be a sad situation. I could see that being a rational choice for everyone. That we don't have the money to afford this thing. The visa situation is not working out, and this is just going on and on and on. And maybe it's just a good idea if we just cut our losses and just end this thing, and just you can move on with your life and I can move on with mine, and maybe the two of us should just stick to dating in our own town. It's a sad, very sad result, but it could be a rational choice. Now, on the other hand, it doesn't seem like, because a lot of people, I don't know, but a lot of people on this show, the virus is happening at this point, so I think that's also a factor. A lot of people on this show, they manage to eventually get a visa and eventually get the money to reunite. So that doesn't seem like it's that, far-fetched of a possibility for him to eventually, come to the States, but I don't know. Hey, deserving listeners, as y'all know, I am constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. Well, one of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp. If you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to betterhelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the promo code Kirk because you get 10% off your first month, and it really helps us out. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, which is great because you deserve it. And I know also that it can be hard to find a good fit, find the right one for you. Well, one of the options available in terms of your shopping is to go to betterhelp.com/Kirk. I've been told you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message your counselor at any time. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. I've also been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy, and you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide. So go to betterhelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month today.
It's not that bad, my boy.
You better be joking right now.
I'm not. I promise you. Why do you think I'm getting the place ready?
If we're gonna have to move there, I might just well leave the family.
You what?
I might leave the family.
Yikes. Okay, so it's one thing when adults are being harmed on the show. It's another thing when a child is being harmed. The other thing that we have to ask is, do we believe that this, even if, presumably the child consented to being filmed and having this on the TV show, but do we believe that a child this age knows what they're getting into, really? I don't think any of us do. I don't think any of us think that an 11-year-old, I don't know, maybe he's 12, child has the ability to knowingly and, with informed consent, provide their consent to be on a show like this. And a lot of kids will regret having been on shows like this when they were young. So, there's a whole thing there as well. But the harm here that we can see is that Ronald is like having this real flippant attitude, like, no, you'll move here, everything will be fine. No, you'll move here, everything will be fine. And he's like, oh, I don't like this conversation. I don't want to. And then he says, if my mom decides to move to South Africa with my younger sibling, I might just have to leave the family. That tells us something. I mean, that statement said, he's saying it from this childish perspective, but he's probably communicating a lot of difficulty right now. It's just like, I can't deal with this anymore. We already did that trip. We went out there to live, and then we came back, and I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. So that tells me he's suffering a lot and might even have a fantasy, which wouldn't be unusual, of I'll just run away and I'll live on the streets or something. Kids will have those kind of fantasies.
Which family?
In America.
You ain't leaving nobody.
I'm gonna ask Mommy right now.
You can ask her.
Mommy, that's all. Mommy, Dad said if the visa declines, we're gonna have to move there forever. We'll talk about that another day.
Hello, leave step, man.
Okay, so Tiffany, the mom, after hearing the son say, he said that we're going to move to South Africa if the visas decline. And Tiffany, in a very smart way, just said, we'll talk about that another time. I think because Tiffany in that moment is just like, what is happening? No, I'm not going to get into a debate at this point. This is beyond your level. So that was a good response to that question.
Crazy cats.
We'll talk about that another day. Why? We just will.
So you see how Ronald injected him the kid with all of this anxiety and all this knowledge. and has actively told his stepson to fight with the mom about this issue, and now the son is being a good son and doing that. And the child now believes he has the power and the right to argue with mom. Not a good thing. Very irresponsible.
Daniel said that he doesn't want to move to South Africa at all. It's quite a letdown, because being together as a family and not ever being separated again would be like a dream come true.
It's a letdown to you? It's a letdown to you that a child wants to stay in his hometown, in his home country, with his family and friends? That's a letdown to you? What about a letdown to the child? Where do the child's feelings come into play here? I mean, ugh.
But at the same time, if my visa was to get declined, I will literally do everything in my power to fight for the kids, to have them here in South Africa, because I will not let Tiffany keep the kids from me any longer.
Well, that doesn't sound ominous. Now, I don't think he's going to have a lot of legal standing. Maybe he will. I doubt it. But that doesn't sound so great. It sounds like he's saying, if my visa is declined, I'm going to break up, and then I'm going to legally fight to have my kids forcibly removed from her to come to South Africa. Like, uh-oh.
Like, lay off a bit. I was finally letting go a bit. And out of nowhere, he basically went with some friends to the casino, and he gambled it all. He lost it all. And because it was so unexpected, it like broke me for a while.
Okay, that's interesting. I've been wondering this whole season, what's going on between Tiffany and Ronald? Because the last we saw, the relationship seemed to be going kind of okay. But they, through this season, have had a lot of conflict. And I was wondering, did he relapse or something? So I wish they would have led with this at the beginning of the season. So they said a while ago he relapsed on his gambling addiction and lost all the money. And so that's why they've been fighting. Maybe I missed it. Maybe they did talk about it and dismissed it. But anyway, it explains why they've been fighting this whole time. But the problem that I see is that the two of them are still talking about money as if he doesn't have an addiction. She's saying, you need to save your money, you need to grow up, you need to be responsible, you need to save up to get money to come here to the United States. And he's saying, look, it's really hard to get money over here, and it's a lot easier for you to get money, and so maybe you could send me money, and then I could come out there. Now, of course, she would have a lot of reasons to be scared about just sending him money, because maybe he gambles it away, which would be really devastating, right? And destructive for their family. But what I'm not hearing is that the two of them are saying, what is your sponsor saying? What, you had a relapse. It's expected. What did you do that led to that? Now, maybe they are having those conversations, but when you have a couple and one person is suffering from an addiction, it's often important that both people know the language and the system of recovery, and both people are in contact with the sponsor, and both people might even go to meetings together, or the other person goes to Al-Anon or whatever the group is for family members of people who suffer from gambling addiction. Instead of the way that they're approaching it, which seems to be more on the level of like, well, it's in the past, I don't need to deal with it right now, now we're just moving forward, I won't relapse. People with strong addictions, what seems like Ronald has, almost always relapse. It's not a for sure thing, but it's a normal thing. And so you deal with it and you manage it and you try not to have it, but it happens.
It's not right, and I shouldn't have to tread on eggshells. I don't want to risk another relapse. I've gone through way too much, and when he hits rock bottom, it is literal hell. So I refuse to let that happen again. So if I need to walk on eggshells, that's just what I'm going to be doing right now.
I'm not sure what she means by that, eggshells, but yeah, the toll that it takes on family members is tremendous. Now, the toll it takes on the addict is also very tremendous as well. Sometimes they can go into denial about it because they don't have any psychic ability to withstand it, but definitely it can cause a lot of pain, a lot of strife for the family members. It did for Tiffany, which makes sense. But is there a plan? What's the plan? Or is she, it seems, I don't know because we don't have the full picture, but it seems like Tiffany's plan is, hey, pal, you got to get your stuff together or else. And okay, she's entitled to that, but that usually doesn't work in a longer term approach to recovery. Usually it's like, okay, how can I, if you're Tiffany, you're saying, okay, Ronald, how can I help you with your recovery? Where are you in your recovery? And then maybe from your side, from Tiffany's side, you're thinking, is this person actually going through the steps, or are they just giving it lip service, or are they just white knuckling it, as they say, and not going to meetings? Because if that's the case, then I don't know if I want to be close to this situation, because until this person fully recovers and has a long-term sobriety that isn't white knuckling it, where he's going, now we do know that he did go to recover. He went to a recovery center and I believe had a sponsor-like relationship with someone, which was good. But did that sustain over time? We don't know. So there's a lot of questions, but I wish we knew. But it looks like they don't have the kind of recovery relationship that would make it so that, one, it would raise the likelihood of sobriety, and two, it would manage the conflicts that exists in relationships where there is an addiction.
You shouldn't have to be a certain way with him. Like, he's not a child. You have to be straight up. This is what's gonna happen, okay? I'm not gonna go live with you because I'm thinking about my child's needs and but you're gonna have to break it down to
He's literally gonna tell me nope. You're gonna bring my daughter and my son here, and that's that. And that's gonna be the end of the conversation, Laura. You don't.
Right. So it's really concerning. I have a lot of concern for this couple. The way they communicate to each other, the addiction element, the recovery element. So there's some concerning things. It sounds to me like the two of them are having a fair amount of distance and some contempt for each other. Usually when I hear someone like Ronald saying something like, look, it's either you come here or I am going to legally take the children away from you. That's basically what Ronald is saying. That means that on an ongoing basis, this is what's going through his head, which doesn't usually indicate that the person has a strong bond or hope for the future regarding the romantic relationship. If you didn't know already, we're having a scholarship. We offer scholarships every once in a while. When people become patrons of the podcast, we like to give back to the community. We also give to various different charities. You can go to the website and look at that. So if you become a patron of the podcast, know that a portion of your pledge every month goes towards various charities that we support, including art grants and scholarships that we give to people. And so if you know anyone who's in a master's program or a doctorate program in psychology or psychotherapy, encourage them to go to the website and click on the scholarship button and apply there. There's a pretty good chance that they'll get it because we don't have a lot of applicants at this point. We haven't been promoting it very well. It's a $2,000 scholarship. It's a lot of money, and every little bit counts when you're going to graduate school. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.